Hello, today is Sunday, May 16th, and our travels today take us to Northeast Tennessee, Southeast Kentucky, and Southwest Virginia. This area is known as the Cumberland Gap, which is a natural break in the Appalachian Mountains. So our first stop is at the Wilderness Road Campground. It's located approximately 3 miles from the Park Visitor Center off of Highway 58 in Virginia. It has 160 sites in a beautiful wooded setting. The address for the use with the GPS is 854 National Park Road, Ewing, Virginia. But check that, we had a hard time finding that address with Ewing, Virginia. Also, they have 20, 30, and 50 amp electrical hookups are available at 41 of the 160 sites. Hot showers and potable water are located in the comfort stations. And you'll be seeing up here on the right that a dump station is located near the campground entrance. We're showing that to you now. So the campsites are easily accessed along paved loop roads. The roads were very nice. Many of the sites are large enough to accommodate an RV or trailer of up to 50 feet. Most of them were level. They're very spaced out, so lots of privacy. But most sites do require you to back up, so just a heads up, except for site C4, which is a pull-through site. And we decided to go through Loop B because you can see up here on the right, there's a casita, which will be the trailer that we'll be getting in January of 22. So we had to drive by and look at that. Now, what the National Park Service said that the campsites were available on a first-come, first-served basis. But you might want to check if you decide to go to this campground to make sure that reservations aren't required. And I guess you want the next, and there's a bathhouse that's up to the left. There are 3 that are there. I think 2 closed in the off season, but 1 is still open. I'm not sure what loop that's on, so that's something you might want to check for. But the next question you might have is how much? So if the tent sites with no electricity, they're $14 per night. And the sites with electric are only $20 per night per site. And of course, since this is a national park campground, all sites are 1/2 price for the senior pass holders and the access pass holders. Another little bit of information about this campground. It's located within the Cumberland Gap National Historical Park, which was established in 1940 by Franklin Roosevelt, FDR, in order to commemorate the story of the first doorway of the West, which was kind of cool. So I'm going to let you look at the rest of the campground in silence. We're about to drive through another loop just to give you a feel for how the sites look. There are some sites to the right here of the loops. All the loops are on the left, but there are some sites there on the right. So I'm going to be quiet and let you enjoy the beautiful Virginia scenery, since this campground is technically in Virginia. So our next stop is Cumberland Gap, Tennessee. Now, Cumberland Gap is a town in Claiborne County, Tennessee, and it's a big old biggie. Population in 2010 was 494, which was up from 490 in 2019. And so it's lost 4 people. So it's not a really big area, but it's beautiful. We're going to take you through a drive through Cumberland Gap. And it's actually located right below the Cumberland Gap, which again is the historic mountain pass for which it's the town's namesake, and inside the boundaries of the Cumberland Gap Historical Park. And the majority of the downtown's area, which was kind of cool, is listed on the National Register of Historic Places, and it's known as the Cumberland Gap Historic Area District. So enjoy. So we just drove under an old train trestle there in Cumberland Gap, which was kind of cool too. But here's the reason we really brought you up here today, which was the Cumberland Gap Tunnel. And we're heading north, heading to Middlesboro, Kentucky. And this section of highway through the Cumberland Gap was previously named Massacre Mountain. And that was because of the hazardous design and the high rate of traffic accidents. So, a tunnel was proposed in 1959, but construction on it did not begin until many, many years later. And the Cumberland Gap Tunnel, as we're approaching here, is near the border of all three states, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Virginia. If you want to take hazmat material through here, you have to have an escort. One interesting tidbit is it is only one of two mountain vehicular tunnels in the U.S. that cross the state line. And the other was in East River Mountain Tunnel on I-77 between Virginia and West Virginia. And you'll notice on the left-hand side you keep seeing exit signs. Well, this tunnel is patrolled by CCTV. And so you have an exit pass just in case you had to get out of there or they could see when you have an accident. This tunnel was not completed until 1996. And it's approximately 1 mile in length. And what you're going to see up here coming up is what we call the light at the end of the tunnel. So be prepared for the light that's going to hit you here as we cross into Kentucky. So now we're in Kentucky. And we're actually heading towards what they call the Pinnacle Overlook. And this is a road that takes you up to an overlook where you can actually see all three states, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Virginia. And we're going to spare you the details of this drive up. It really wasn't that long, but there were a lot of switchbacks, a lot of areas that didn't have guardrails. The road itself was fine, but we're going to save you that and let you enjoy that on your own if you ever decide to come up here and take a look at it. And now we've got some photos we're just going to show you. Here was the marker for the Cumberland Gap, the National Historical Park. This was at their visitor center. And here were some markers that we found up at the Pinnacle Overlook itself. I just found out today that obviously Kentucky was originally called Cane Tuck, which is kind of something interesting. It also shows you the gap through the Appalachian Mountains. And you can see our elevation here is 2440 feet. And the overlook from the parking area is just 200 yards. And there's actually two paths up there. One is handicapped accessible. And this was a placard that was at the overlook that I thought was pretty cool. Stand at the Cumberland Gap and watch the procession of civilization, marching single file, the buffalo following the trail to the salt springs, the Indian, the fur trader and hunter, the cattle raiser, the pioneer farmer, and the frontier has passed by. And on the way to the overlook, it was kind of cool. They actually had a marking where the state line between Kentucky and Virginia was. And what you're going to see now is actual footage from that Pinnacle Overlook. The first, beautiful views. The first thing you're going to see is the actual city of Cumberland Gap, Tennessee, which we just drove you through. To the right is going to be Middlesboro, Kentucky, which is a pretty good sized area. Has a lot of restaurants and a hospital. The mountain in front of you is where that tunnel was built through. Off to, in the distance, you'll see Harrogate, Tennessee, which is the home of LMU, Lincoln Memorial University. And yes, it was named after Abraham Lincoln. And to the left, you're going to actually see Virginia. So yes, even though it was a cloudy day and it was kind of hazy, you could still see all three states from this vantage view. We hope you've enjoyed the scenery. We hope you'll come enjoy it for yourselves. It was beautiful. 65 degrees today, not really windy. And we'll look to see you on the next one.